Alrighty, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new review. Today I'll be talking about my trading day, how I'm down a little bit under $8,000 on the trading day. A pretty small trading day. Today was initially a 1R intended day, essentially meaning that I came into the day with the idea of going full risk, but after seeing price off the open, decided to de-risk no half R for the session. With that, we still ended up taking a couple of trades. Today was a little frustrating because we had 3 total trades, 2 which were very in the money, but we still end up closing out at a minus 0.5 R, which we'll be talking about. And yeah, we got the buys right, we got the entries right, we got everything right. We didn't end up seeing full follow through on a couple of these trades before hitting that draw target. So let's get into it. When it comes to the day overall, coming to the open, I didn't have the most one-sided bias, to be honest. I was a bit more bearish than I was bullish, but I wasn't extreme. Kind of looking at the open here, you kind of see me mention this. Excuse me. I said, good morning. We'd like to see us get out of this range as we have been last week. PDH was made off the hourly CE point. Would like for us to make a move off it. The opening range move will be interesting. Price overall overnight has been bearish. Let's see what it presents. So essentially, what I was saying was yesterday we ended up putting in a PDH where we see price put in a high through the 50% point of a hourly gap and also a tap inside of a 4-hour gap. We didn't see a good rejection through overnight data. And then I essentially preferred to see the opening range move, which if you guys don't know, it's the first move off the open into an area opposing liquidity, typically an overnight high or low, where I wanted to see price more so look to trade and see continuation off. That's what I was looking for. And so price off the open was very choppy. We were very patient. And again, initially we were 1R risk, which on these Lucid accounts is $500 per account. And then we de-risked and went half risk, which is $250 per trade. And so, yeah, in terms of the first trade of the day, kind of mentioned it here, I said leaning downside, opening range move was bullish, but in my opinion, would have made the move reversal, or we would have made the reversal now if we wanted any interest, very slow, thinking of going half risk today due to how slow price is, liking the potential in riding back down. If we see price invalidate that, or if we see price validate the bullish S&T, we'll see 24,700. So this is kind of the look I had. Initially, the idea was on NQ because NQ was initially the asset, I believe, which was moving more. We then ended up flipping the trade here on trade number 1 to ES because we had recognized that ES was a bit more weaker because ES actually ends up inverting its gap here, the same gap entry, a bit sooner. So here was the first trade. This was the trade where we simply looked for continuation lower. We enter this trade, and then we almost immediately enter a bit of drawdown. And I'll show you guys the executions on MES. Here. Where's it at? Right here. Okay. So we end up taking this trade here, and we have almost immediate drawdown, and we end up coming quite close to stop loss initially. But the validation was still there. NQ comes up here, and we end up seeing NQ actually putting in a higher high, whilst ES puts in a higher low, a lower high. And we end up seeing price eventually come back down here. We eventually end up seeing price validate to move lower. We just don't end up seeing that full validation. So we end up going break even on this trade right after I mentioned that I am short, right? And by the way, this is all, the time here is an hour ahead because I'm currently in Puerto Rico. So the EST time, this would be at 11 o'clock. But you end up seeing me mention that, and then I end up going break even. I kept break evens typically a bit tighter today than usual because of how bad price was. I didn't want to just deal with consolidation consistently. So I felt if we had a good displacement sequence, it was fair to go risk-free on the trade. We end up doing that here, go break even. Then we end up seeing price essentially come back up and getting us tagged out for a break-even trade. I'm a huge believer and huge proponent of having everything predetermined. I know today's probably a type of day where you could probably watch this recap and be like, "This is a type of day where you should have taken, when you had green." No, I'm not I'm not a big fan of just like taking, profit one there. I believe that's hugely against your psyche. I feel like if you do that consistently over time, you'll miss a lot more moves than you would save, if that makes sense. For me, I like everything predetermined. Now, what I can do sometimes is if I see price trading extremely poor after entry, is I'll move the take profit. Say like my take profit 1 here is the hourly internal low. I'll go low of day for take profit. But I will never have a randomized take profit. I'll never be in the middle of a trade with a TP intent, a take profit intent, and just take. Not just something I won't do. So in a day like today, we had 2 of those trades where we ended up seeing price go very in the money, a positive R, but we just simply don't realize the day or realize the trade because take profit has not gotten hit. So we come down here, eventually come back down. We end up teasing the low. We end up coming back up, retracing. We then take our second entry a bit after because my conviction was still completely there. Price was still bearish. These retraces were just a bit heavier. You then end up seeing, we mentioned last idea, 1 minute IFG short, looking at lower break-even stops will be tight again. So 68.59. The idea was similar here. And I initially ended up posting this time the chart on ES, but I ended up taking NQ because NQ looked a little bit better now going short off its 1 minute gap. You see me kind of mention that here. NQ looking a bit better. We'll look to take off there if we get break even would be 24.810. This is essentially what it was. We ended up taking the trade and the executions were here. Again, these were all taking on my personal account as well. Where is it at? Right here. So we ended up taking this trade. Now, what I will say about this trade, which this is to my live viewers, for anyone who's like free watching this, doesn't really pertain to you. For anyone who's in my Discord, you guys know exactly how we use confirmation. It's the same way every time. You end up mentioning, I end up mentioning I'm short. If you look at the NQ chart and where your supposed entry should have been, your entry should have been off the confirmation, right, which would have been the closure off this candle. Had I properly executed and I feel like not had to focus on executing TPT, executing my personal account, and then executing Lucid, I feel like we would have had a lot better of an entry, if I'm being honest. And this trade here, this is another trade. This is the second trade here that did end up going break even. This trade here would have never went break even had we had the appropriate fill. So I'm kind of curious on what I should do here because obviously my TPT and my personal are my main priority. If you guys don't know, I've been trading Lucid accounts for a little while now. Just kind of trading them with my community. That way they can get a realistic understanding of how to like consistently compound. I still want that to be the thing, but at the same time, like I have to be able to get the right fills on my personal and across the board because had I done that across everything today, all the accounts would have been green, right? We would have been closed out at a 1.4R. We would have been green. So I know some of you guys in chat are probably gonna say use a trade copier. I'm not willing to risk my take profit pro plus accounts because I've had accounts in the past before, maybe like 1 or 2, where like I'll trade copy and say like there'll be an internet problem or something happens and it just how it reverses a position for a split second. Your accounts get wiped on TBT, so I'm just not gonna risk that because I obviously with these accounts I tend to scale heavier and heavier. You just don't want that to happen. So I don't know what to do here. Chat, if you're in this review, comment what you think I should do because again, I just don't think I can copy it because of the fact that these TPT profiles, like I just can't risk the idea of an accidental hedge because if it's a hedge, accidental hedge, no matter what it is, they mitigate your accounts. Take profit trader is still awesome, by the way, and I don't think that's necessarily them. I think it's CMB really pushing the fact that they don't want prop traders or traders in general hedging, which I completely agree with. But yeah, I don't know what to do here, to be honest. It's either I need to be able to execute under one look. So yeah, maybe you guys can have a suggestion in chat. I don't know. But yeah, if we end up taking this trade properly with proper confirmation, this trade never goes break even. We end up coming back down here and hitting take profit and PDL. Very frustrating. The third trade right here specifically ends up being a 1 minute invert. This is a smaller invert. This trade here was just sloppy for me in general, if I'm being honest. Just slightly undisciplined. The first 2 trades, I felt like we did really good. And I think overall in the day, we still did decent. Like we're not down much at all. If you compare my P&L today compared to the average days, not much. But it's definitely been a day where it's a bit frustrating because you guys saw the first 2 trades. My objective was PDL on NQ. My objective was the hourly internal low on ES. We end up seeing those get taken out, but get tagged out, break even a couple times because of just improper fills. So I don't know what I want to do here. Obviously, a lot of people in the Discord actually end up realizing green, which I'm against. Funny enough, like people in the Discord, because of these moves were so green before, so green, whatchamacallit, we don't end up hitting take profit, but we end up seeing such good moves. They ended up realizing it, which I'm super against. Like everyone in the room should be slightly red today, as I am. But if some of you guys are green, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know what to do here. If you guys have any suggestions in the comments, let me know. But yeah, a small day overall. Just got to be a bit more disciplined. I think overall today we did a decent job. It's been quite shit price, but we did a good job for what it was. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap, and on to the next one.